What is up, college baseball fans? Welcome to another episode of the 11.7 podcast. I'm here joined by Jack, and boy, was this weekend a lot of fun. Kind of separated the contenders from the pretenders. There's some teams that look very, very good right now, and like almost a lock to host regionals. Like we're getting into that territory with only 5 weeks left, and there's also some teams on the other end of the spectrum that time is running out quickly. And so we're going to dive into all of that. We'll recap the weekend. We want to spend a good amount of time previewing not only the midweek, but also talking about like the future next 5 weeks, like what teams really need to do starting now to put themselves in either an at-large um, conversation or regional hosting conversation, and we'll highlight a few teams as well. But before we do all that, we got to do our home field apparel team of the week, and it's none other than the number one team in the country, Texas A&M Aggies. The Texas A&M Aggies are not only a really fun team to watch, they are also one of the most complete teams in college baseball. Like it's hard to find a hole in their game, whether it's I mean their pitching is good, bullpens are great, offense is electric. They got young guys, they got old guys, grad transfers, they got it all. So Coach Schlossnagle and the guys are rolling right now. Well deserved number one team in the country. But we all know it doesn't matter what you're ranked April 15th. It matters what happens in June. But we want to give a shout out here, homefieldapparel.com. We're partners with, and if you use our promo code CWS24, you get 15% off. So this is just a team of the week. If you're new to the show, every episode we pick a team that has kind of stood out or separated themselves, and we just highlight the merch that they have. So Texas A&M's got some cool 12th man stuff, a lot of football, few baseball. Like look here, Jack, you love this? The Cream Olsen Magic 1989 Conference Champion shirt. They got it in white as well. So they got some for the ladies. You got the women's tank, bunch of cool stuff. So shout out Home Field Apparel. Use our promo code CWS24 for 15% off. All right. I did all my talking. Jack, I want you to take the floor here. Riz God Dimitri should be joining us at some point in the next 5 to 10 minutes. We'll make sure he has a grand entrance. But I want Jack to tell us about his thoughts. Just overall, what stood out this weekend. What do you want to talk about? Floor is yours.
I'm excited for the Riz guys Stone Cold Steve entrance. You beautifully yet again crushed the ad reads. And this ad read was so interesting because it's not the way that it's not how Texas A&M is going about this 32-4 run, but it's the way that they're doing it. I mean, just absolutely boat racing a really good Vanderbilt team, right? Like, I mean, those first two games were insane. Right, they have two guys in the top 10 in the country in homers and Laviette and Lord Tubbington and Mr. Montgomery, who would look just absolutely spectacular in that home field apparel, by the way. But to have the number 2 ERA in the country as well, like they're about as complete of a ball team as you're going to find. And we're in mid-major pods, and I know that a lot of our fans get a little upset at our SEC talk at the front of these podcasts, but I think it's mostly because it just catches your eye with these extremities of greatness and sometimes piss poor efforts. So let's go ahead and just start this thing off with the question that I think a lot of people want answered. Who's hitting the panic button harder? Is it Baton Rouge or is it Gainesville? Because you're right, time is running out, and I know that's what you were alluding to, but I think it says more about Tennessee. Like I've been saying all year, I'm not worried about LSU. I was more so worried about the schedule, but you're right. Like with only 4 conference weekends left, like when do you start hitting it?
Yeah, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. The the national championship curse might actually be real because let's take us back. Like 2021, Mississippi State wins the national championship. Sure, they lost a boatload of players, not only to the draft, but injuries as well. And they come into 2022, and people are like, yeah, they should be good. They should be competitive, not as good as last year. And they end up finishing in last place in the SEC. In 2022, Ole Miss was kind of the same story, right? Ole Miss caught fire in May and June, won a national championship as the last team in the tournament. And then going into the 2023 season, everybody was kind of like, yeah, they should be okay. Um, you know, they're not great, but they got a lot of the transfer portal. They lost Tim Oko and those guys who were there for 4 years, blah blah blah. This LSU story is wild to me because not only did they win the national championship as a team that spent a lot of their time number 1 overall in the rankings, they it was like what people were talking about going into this year, like, yo, the pitching staff is going to be better. The offensive pieces, it's hard to replace a Paul Skeens or a Dylan Cruz or Trey Morgan and those guys. But listen, this LSU team is legit. Like they should be a top 5 preseason ranked team, and they could go back to Omaha and possibly win the whole thing. But you look, what we're 5 weeks into the SEC play. We got 5 weeks left, and they're 3-12. Jack, 3-12. It's not, dude. Like the panic button was probably pressed 2 weeks ago. This is like, let's save our season. If we lose 3 or 4 more SEC games, we're going to be on the bubble. We lose 5 more SEC games, we're not making the tournament. So like time is running out quickly for the LSU Tigers. Meanwhile, the Florida Gators are still sitting at 7-8 in the SEC. I know their overall record 18-17. It does not look pretty, but I think a lot of people, critics of the game, are saying like Florida was not a top 10 team or not a top 5 overall team, not a top 25 overall team. And I think people's gripes with Florida was they shouldn't be in the rankings. They're still like on some levels a very talented team, and they've won 4 more SEC games than LSU at this point. So I don't think the panic button is being pressed as hard down in Gainesville, but the LSU story is wild. I mean, they have a 1-game lead over Auburn for the worst SEC record 5 weeks in. I
And
can't
that's
explain it.
it's the biggest question mark, where it's like they're the tale of two teams, where it's like Florida is strictly winning every SEC game on Sunday, and they did it again against South Carolina this weekend, who looked fantastic, by the way. That's a totally
Mhm.
different conversation. But for LSU, like they can't find a way to get out of their own way on Sundays. You know what I mean? Like, so now at that halfway mark with 15
I
more
don't
SEC
think
games
I
in
don't think
front of them,
LSU has won a Sunday game. Like,
not in the
I think they've
SEC.
lost their last 6. I think they've lost their last 6 going back to that Xavier series.
Maybe. And I think it's because I saw them in Houston, where they swept that weekend, right? They beat Texas,
Mhm.
the Cajuns, which I believe may have been no, the Rage Cajuns obviously have lost since then. But and then Texas State that Sunday in the Houston College Classic. But it's like I still see all the talent in the world. So with 15 games in front of them, I'm looking at it right now: 3 with Missouri at Mizzou, 3 with Auburn at home, then A&M at the box, Alabama, Ole Miss. Like, to me, in the weirdest way, it's like you can take care of business and go 4-2, 5-1, or even sweep Missouri and Auburn, and find a way to go. All right, cool. Like now we're at 8-13, 9-12, right? Because what's that lucky number, right? 14, 15 SEC wins, and you're guaranteed in for the most
Yeah, for the
part.
most part. 14 and 16 will get you, and I think it gets everybody in, or at least it has the last few years. 13 and 17, like you're gonna have to have no bid stealers out of those 1 bid conferences. You're gonna have I mean, you're gonna have a lot of things break your way, or go out and win like 3 or 4 SEC tournament games.
Yep.
Um, the thing with LSU, if the SEC tournament started today, they would not even make Hoover. The bottom 2 teams do not make Hoover, and like as of right now, like they would be out. Dude, this will be the last thing I say about LSU, because I know their fans are sulking right now. Good. I'm glad they won a national championship last year, because that holds. I always say about 5 years. You can hold on to the national championship for 5 years. Um, but if they don't, at minimum, you have to go 5-1 in your next 6
Yeah.
SEC games. Uh, with Missouri and Auburn back to back, minimum 5-1. Like you need to go 6-0, put yourself at 9-12. Then you're like kind of feeling okay. But minimum 5-1. That is the recipe. If you don't go 5-1, like you can kiss your chances of any kind of postseason baseball out of the picture.
It's crazy. It is crazy. What else stood out to you, man, this weekend? You crushed it on the admin account. I was kind of at the tail end of my crossover season, but the ACC is still insanely like up for grabs. I think NC State kind of like after a couple of rough weekends go, hey, we still got all the talent in the world, and they go upset Clemson. That was really impressive to me.
Yeah, no, that series was a lot of fun, and I called it on the 11.7 Twitter. Like NC State is such a roller coaster of a team. They go and I don't remember everything. Give me one second. I'm pulling it up right now. But they let's see, an ACC play. They swept Boston College. Then they go and get swept by Georgia Tech. They win 2 out of 3 against number 7 Duke, and then they sweep Notre Dame. So at that point, you're like, wow. We are, 8-4 in ACC play with a sweep over Notre Dame, sweep over Boston College. If we could have just won one of those games at Georgia Tech, like, we'd be feeling really good. But then they go and get swept at Louisville, who Louisville was struggling at the time, and they lose the midweek, to East Carolina and then UNCW, and you're like, "Man, this NC State team, the magic is gone." And remember, we went to that Saturday game where you broadcasted Duke and NC State, and, we got to see Sam Heifel pitch. He threw a gem, or that was a Friday game, actually.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you were on the call, and we were like, I remember talking after the game, like, "Man, this NC State team is talented. Like, they have the guys and, like, the pieces, and they're playing well together. Like, they could easily host a regional this year." But then to answer the bell, they go at Clemson this weekend. Nobody's given them any chance in the world. Like, they're on a 5-game losing streak, and they go out and win Friday, they go win Saturday, and then win the series at number 2 Clemson. It was like, wow, this NC State team is a roller coaster. Now it doesn't get easier for the guys, for the Wolfpack. You get Campbell this midweek, 3 against UNC, and then at East Carolina. So that's their next 5 games. If they can win 3 of those games, I think they're gonna be pretty happy with themselves. Or if they win 4 or 5, it's like, wow, this is a legitimate hosting team.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting as I love how the pretenders and contenders, like the top 5 teams in the country, feel like they've really run away, right? Whether it's Oregon State or Arkansas, uh, those teams have clearly become bona fide studs. Even Duke, right? Like taking care of business against a team they were supposed to beat, and they do. But for that middle of the pack in the ACC, like Louisville keeps hanging around, and like all of a sudden Wake Forest is back and better than ever with Nick Kurtz becoming a freaking alien. Like what he's doing right
Yeah.
now is so stupid. It's
He's
so
like
stupid.
10th in the country in home runs with like 50 less at bats than everybody else.
Missed like 3 weeks of the season, guys.
Mhm.
It's so insane. So, and to that point, like that's what Alec Makarevich, APEC 99, kind of feels like to me. Like he feels like a dude that can put his team on his back and go a little bit. I joked with that. If you were watching this weekend, if you weren't, you need to go find it. He had like the most athletic swim move dive into home to steal a run against Clemson. I was like, dude, you're not supposed to move like that at that size. Like he's a legit D end, like hitting a swim move on an NFL left tackle. Like he's got that like first round bona fide, like ton of college baseball experience swagger to put the pack on his back and go do something crazy, kind of like what Kurtz is doing with Wake Forest right now.
Yeah, last I checked, Makarevich is somewhere in the top 5 in the country in RBIs, switch hitter, somebody that has been there, done that before in the postseason. And we got to interview him after the game, NC State Duke, and dude, just such a down to earth guy, like very soft spoken, kind of goofy, and but you can just tell like he has a lot of confidence in himself. It was a
Yes.
big jump for him to leave East Carolina and go to NC State. There was a lot of negative talk from East Carolina fans, like saying that he abandoned the ship, but he did it to get better as a player. And it's
Yep.
no knock on East Carolina player development, but sometimes, like as a player, if you've been told the same thing for 4 straight years, it doesn't allow you to like grow and see different perspectives. And I'm sure he's doing 99% of the exact same thing he was doing at East Carolina, but it's like that extra 1% that he gets a different perspective on in the box that has helped him like go from somebody that might hit 10 homers and 50 RBIs in a season to looking around right now and like he's close to 60 RBIs. So it just like the transfer portal is not always a
Yep.
bad thing. You spend 4 years at a school and you transfer because you need a change of scenery, and a new coaching philosophy or whatever. Like that's a good thing. And he's done it. But going back on your point with the ACC kind of just being like jumbled up, dude, it's a cluster right now. But something that has stood out to me that I don't think I've seen anywhere on social media, the UNC Tar Heels are 23 and 0 at home this year, Jack. They have not lost in 23 games at home. They're 14 and 4 in the ACC, good for first place. And like honestly, the schedule is like somewhat favorable for them down the road. Like this could be a team if they take care of business. They got a big one on Tuesday against Coastal Carolina at home, so history says they should win it. But you get like Gardner Webb in the midweek, Charlotte. Uh, Virginia Tech, NC State, Louisville, and then that last series at Duke will be a big one. But this UNC team, they're young, they're spunky, and then they also have first round talent with, Vance Honeycutt. Hook is a really good hitter. I think this is a highly underrated UNC team going right now, and they're not getting the respect that like a lot of other teams with their resume have.
Yeah, we were fortunate to see him at home too, and like we got there like because we're kind of nerdy about it, but to get there like 3 hours before and watch batting practice, and I feel like that kind of tells you everything you need to know about a team, right? Like they were loose, they were light as hell. The Anthony
Mhm.
D'Onofrio kid is like got one of my favorite stories in college baseball. Like working to get him on a podcast because his journey throughout the transfer portal is everything that's right with the college sports landscape. We hear so much about the craziness in the 1%. That's a dude that's busted his tail to earn this opportunity. And like the moment's never been too big for him. And you're right. And I think it's because maybe like there is that like that first round talent and Honeycutt and those guys. But for a team that refuses to lose at home and in contention to like lock down a regional spot and a regional host site, like you're right. Why aren't we talking about a blue blood college baseball program? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it feels weird. And I think it's because the ACC has been so drunk this year that like we're so caught up with the mayhem of it, right? It's not like the Big 12 where like nobody feels like they want to win the damn conference. Like in the ACC, it's been Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, kind of head and shoulders above everyone, and then everyone else jockeying from the middle of that pack. But you're right; they've kind of like separated themselves, and no one's really talking about it because how insane the middle ground is.
Well, and the cool thing about the ACC is, like, throughout the season, there's been probably 5 of these teams in the upper tier of the ACC jockeying for that number 1 ranking. For a while, we've seen, like, Duke jump up towards the number 1 spot. There was a point in the season where Virginia looked like the best team in the country. Florida State started out the longest undefeated streak, to start the season, and, like, they're still playing really good baseball. Clemson has flirted with that number 1, number 2 overall seed, or no, number 1, number 2 ranking, and Wake Forest started the year there. And like, as far as talent goes, I still think the Wake Forest team, when all healthy, like probably has the best talented or the most talent on the roster, but it's so debatable. Uh, I look at teams like Duke, Virginia, NC State, Florida State, Clemson as like they can beat anybody on any weekend. It's like which team is going to show up. Um, so it'll be interesting. 5 weeks left in the regular season, plus you get that awesome ACC tournament, and this could be a 4 or 5, maybe 6 hosting conference.
I love that.
Yeah, I could legitimately see 6 of these teams hosting a regional. It's nuts, dude.
I see more ACC hosts than I do SEC. Which is when's the last time we were able to say that?
I don't know. Probably like 2010s sometime in
Right.
there. But dude, you're right. Like I think the SEC has a much more top heavy conference because everybody knows like Arkansas, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Kentucky, like they're all taking care of business in SEC play. But there's a lot of teams on the bottom end of the SEC who are like lucky to win one game a weekend because Arkansas and Kentucky and Tennessee and Texas A&M have so many sweeps. Like
Yeah.
they've just been sweeping everybody. It feels like.
Yeah. Kentucky, how do we haven't even talked about Kentucky yet. 14-1 in the first 5 weeks of SEC play is so stupid. And I love so much that like as someone who studies the like I guess the journalism side of it, there's not a single individual in the country. And that's not a fault, right? Like that's just how cool this damn sport is that nobody saw this coming. I would be willing to bet that nobody in the state of Kentucky saw this coming either.
Uh, You're right. And one more like nugget about Kentucky is they're 12-0 against quadrant 1 teams. Like how is that? Like when you lay their resume out, like I know they slipped up and lost 2 out of 3 to Kennesaw State the weekend before SEC play. But when you put the resume out, like it's honestly a better resume than Texas A&M. Texas A&M 11-4 in SEC play, 6-3 against quadrant 1. Um right now, if you look at Kentucky, like they have the best resume in the country.
Not even
30 and
close.
5 overall, 14 and 1 in SEC play, 12-0 against quadrant 1. Um, it's nuts to me. But at the same time, like rankings do not matter. I want to emphasize that again. But Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Texas A&M, they have been the most consistent of the SEC teams. Meanwhile, there's teams that I think can win the whole thing, like the whole College World Series in like Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Alabama showed that they could win a 2 out of 3 series against number 1 team in the country. So, I think there's a lot of sleepers in the SEC that just are waiting to get like red hot. But I was super impressed with South Carolina this weekend. I've been more impressed with Georgia. Like when they pitch the ball well, they're going to be just fine. And then the team that took the biggest leap, in my opinion, was obviously Alabama, defending the home turf, winning 2 out of 3 against Arkansas. And, that gives them just enough confidence and boost to, maybe rattle off a few series wins in a row.
I would be willing to say, like, whenever we get to Hoover, whoever wins the SEC championship is going to be like, I would say, like, whoever's sixth or seventh in odds to win that damn thing, like, will be whoever wins it. But you can see a team like Alabama, who, in my opinion, like, when you stack the talent, like when you look at Arkansas, you're looking at 4 or 5 potential like big leaguers. And with Alabama, not to say that you don't necessarily see that, but it's like this was a team where, like, are they going to blackball the program a year ago? And now they've just kind of been able to roll and deal with the punches. And I think that's a lot like Kentucky, where, if you're a hypothetical investor in college baseball, and I look at Kentucky every weekend, like I I'll say, like, I keep waiting for the sky to fall in a little bit, right? Like,
$100%.
do any of them scare me? Right. But because, like, I'm a Charleston guy, I know that, like, Trey Poozer on Saturday at College of Charleston transfer is like a super calm, easy 93, 94 with crazy arm side run with his two seam fastball. So it's like, I know they got great pieces, but, like, do they scare you? And I'll tell you what does scare me is that Nicky Lopez just might contend with Ben Miller of Duke with the best mustache in baseball.
That's a
Lopez, who
fact.
who, who never hit over 300 at Southern Cal, is now hitting dang near 400 clip with that sweet fireman stash. Like, that's got to be talked about more.
Yeah, you're right though. Like, there's not that one player that stands out. Like, they don't have a Charlie Condon. Like, they don't have a Jack Caglione. Like, they're winning games the old-fashioned way, and that is like by all means necessary. If you need to bunt, if you need to hit and run, if you need a guy to throw 3 innings out of the bullpen when he's just a 1 inning guy, they've just been piecing it together like really well this year. But if you're Kentucky and like you're a Kentucky baseball fan, maybe joining us for the first time, or just an SEC fan or college baseball fan in general, like this week starting Monday, April 15th is the most important week of the season. You get 2 against your in-state rival, Louisville.
Yep.
You're at home on Tuesday, on the road. Well, actually, wait. No, I think it's just 1 against Louisville. Warren Nolan has it all mixed up. It says they're playing it says they're playing at home Tuesday and then on the road Tuesday against Louisville. Like they're
Oh,
going to play a doubleheader at 2 different sites. I doubt that's what's going on, but anyways,
Mystery.
you play Louisville midweek, and then you get 3 at home against the number 4 team in the country, the Tennessee Volunteers, who have shown very few signs of weakness recently. Um, like Tennessee is a team that like they would scare me if I'm an SEC team. Like they would scare me. Let's see, they're coming off four four straight SEC series wins after they slipped up against Alabama, and just kind of boat racing teams. Like this weekend, Tennessee absolutely manhandled LSU. Like, did I think that, yeah, LSU only scored 8 runs total this weekend.
Yeah.
It was
All three
crazy.
phases. Yeah, Drew Beam looked killer. He posted on Instagram today, like, just some, like, cool flicks of him shoving on the mound, and he did it to the what is it? The play me that mountain music. He played it to the
Yeah.
it was sweet. I was like, man, these guys are cold. And Christian Morris keeps dealing. Blake Burke's ability to hit those like Ken Griffey ass like swingman homers, and
The
then like
exit velo, I don't believe like when he swings and connects with a pitch and it shows up like exit velo 101.5, I want to add 10 miles an hour to every single one of his home run balls because it
I
just
don't
looks
think
different.
it really does look different. It feels different because that one that he hit to opposite field, like dang near on the left field foul pole, like he missed it. He absolutely missed it and still left the yard, which tells you what I'm like. When he gets a hold of baseball, it's like I don't buy the 420, 430. Like it looks like it's fucking 510 feet.
Yeah, it's the way that jumps off the bat. I mean, it's the definition of the wiffle ball swing, right?
Yeah.
The ball, like he's just so quiet in his stance and like kind of has a little flick of the wrist, and then like it's King Griffey Jr.-esque. Like, that's a great way to put it. The ball just jumps off of his bat when he barrels it up. He's fun to watch. He's hitting over 400 this year, which is nuts. and like Christian Moore is like top 10 in the country in homers. Nobody's talking about him. So like Vitello, I think has the group of guys, and it's cool because they're the number 4 team in the country right now, but there's 3 SEC teams ahead of them. So he can kind of sit back and be like, all right, we're going to be this dark horse, like not a dark horse necessarily, but we're going to fly under the radar and we're going to get after teams. And I think that's exactly what he wants.
Yeah, they do, and they've got the veterans around them, like a kid like Kirby Connell, who just broke the Tennessee all-time appearance record at like 106. They have these crafty southpaw dudes that like have been around the program for 5+ years, and like they understand what it means to be a volunteer. They went last year. They understand the
Hmm.
heartbreak of 22. They understand like to be like that target on their back in 21. And this year, you're right because they're maybe not being talked about like Arkansas or A&M. Like they're just kind of flying under the radar at like the number 4 seed in the country, which is hard to say, but it's true.
Right. Versus, just 3 years ago, or let's see, 2022, when they were like the talk of college baseball, not even just college baseball. I felt like every baseball fan in America knew about the Tennessee Volunteers and that villain mindset that they had. This year's much different. It's not the same Tennessee team that we saw in 2022. Now, here's a cool little segment I want to do just real quick, kind of as we're blending SEC baseball with the rest of the country. We have 4 guys right now that I think can all make a case for Golden Spikes. You know how the Golden Spikes, like, they'll come out with their quarter finalist, and then they'll narrow it down to semifinalists, and then it's like, "Here's your finalist." They should just go ahead and skip to the finalists because between Charlie Condon, Jack Caglione, Braden Montgomery, and Travis Bazzana, like, those are your 4 best amateur baseball players in the country. Look, I love Chase Burns. I think his strikeout numbers are ridiculous. Same thing with Hagen Smith. Like, another outing of like, he didn't get double-digit strikeouts, but he was unhittable on Friday at Alabama. But, like, I love those 2 guys. Like, I like the what's his first name? Tanner Thatch from UNCW, who's got, like,
Yep.
close to 20 homers. Same thing with Lyle Miller Green. Like, those mid-major guys are always fun to have in the conversation. But there are not there's nobody that is having a good Nick Kurtz could make it. I'm thinking about it now. Nick Kurtz could make it interesting as, like, that 5th player just because of the tear that he's been on. But between Hags, Bazzana, Montgomery, and Charlie Condon, it's like they should just go ahead and make those 4 the finalists right now and just play out the rest of the year. Who has the best last 5 weeks?
It feels like what Condon's doing isn't sustainable, and then he just does it every weekend. You're like, oh, he's still doing it. That's nice. Like he's still slugging over
Dude,
1,000. That makes sense.
24 homers. It's
It doesn't make any.
nuts.
It doesn't make any sense. Um, I think Braden Montgomery is playing himself into being the number 1 pick in the draft. I really do.
I
I
think
think
so too. I said it like 3 weeks ago, and
you
Dimitri
did
called
when
me
I asked
crazy.
you guys. No, yeah, Rizga did. I remember when I asked you, I was like, "Hey, break it down. Your top 5 picks." He is without question playing himself into the number 1 overall pick. I just think because of like the way that he carries himself a little bit.
Mhm.
But like what Cags is doing again, I think we've just almost it's like LeBron in the NBA. Like we're just almost like too appreciative. Like we're not appreciative enough of what he's doing. But I was gonna make you
Yep.
put Lyle Green in there. I was gonna make you do it. He's got a 5 ERA on the bump. He's beaten SEC teams. He's got the 18 homers. I think he's tied with Bazzana. Is Montgomery still at 18 homers too?
No, Montgomery hit his 19th.
So he's at 19. So he's in that 2 spot. Yeah. Well, it's just
Yeah, so
stupid.
Condon has 24. Let me just read off the stats because the listeners might not know. I should have done this to start, but Charlie Condon's season so far. Batting average 482. He's got an 1109 slugging, and a 1695 OPS, which, if you don't know what OPS means, it basically means how many bases are they getting per at bat? So he's almost getting 2 bases per at bat. And he's got 12 doubles, a triple, 24 homers to lead the country, 52 RBIs, 32 walks, 32 walks in 36 games. Nuts. And then Caglione, in the box, like as a hitter, 394, 1319 OPS, 20 homers, 41 RBIs, 20 walks, only 14 strikeouts though. And but the funny thing about Cags is he only has 2 doubles. Like, he
Man,
either hits a single or the ball goes over the fence. And
well,
I know one of
if
his
you
doubles
watch
hit the wall in the air, so it was, like,
that
close
was
to being a homer.
I was gonna say, and you know why? It's because he rattles them off the wall so hard that it gets
Yeah.
those outfits that they can't run on the base path that quick.
Yeah, yeah, but, I mean, Jack Caglione, last year, he broke the BB Core home run record. He hit 33 homers in a season. It looks like Condon's gonna shatter that record. He only needs 9 more to tie, and you got, like, 20 something games left, plus SEC, potential regional, super regional, College World Series. Like, Cags played in 70 games last year. Um, but it's funny because Cags has hit 20 in 35 games, so he's on pace for 40 if he played that many this year. He won't because Florida won't make it to the championship. I'm assuming that, but if you put Charlie Condon in 70 games, he's on pace for 48
That's so
homers.
stupid. That's so
Dude,
stupid.
and the record is 33. It's nuts. But then of course, like Jack Caglione on the mound as well. I can pull up his pitching stats here in a second. I'm just on D1 baseball site. But let me move on. Braden Montgomery hitting 380. He's slugging 1400, 11 doubles, a triple, 19 homers, 58 RBIs. And that 58 RBIs is tied for the nation's lead. And he has 33 walks in 36 games, 4 stolen bases. And last but not least, Travis Bazzana out on the West Coast. Second baseman hitting 455, slugging 1635. So his batting average and his OPS are almost identical to what Charlie Condon's doing. Um, Bazzana has 8 doubles, 4 triples, 18 home runs out of the leadoff spot. Plus, he has 45 RBIs out of the
Out of the
leadoff
lead.
spot. And here's the most impressive stat: 45 walks in 34 games and only 15 strikeouts. And he's got 8 stolen bases. So it's
I'm
like,
yeah.
dude,
I
it's
would be
nuts.
willing to
Like those
say
4 guys are just in a league of their own right now. I mean, sure, Nick Kurtz is hitting 333, 16 homers in 29 games. Like that's really good, but like he needs the volume that the other guys have to see those eye-popping numbers.
you stole my factoid from me. Because I just can't even fathom it. I almost think the 45 walks to 15 punchies is more impressive than the leadoff homers that Bazzana's hitting out west. I like to have that plate discipline and approach,
Mhm.
and to like know that nobody wants to throw to you, and to still like take your walks and be able to like produce the way he has is so ignorant. It's so ignorant.
Yeah. And dude, it's so cool. Like as a unbiased college baseball fan, and you're the same way. Sitting back and like getting these updates on social media, or you'll be watching the games, and it's like, okay, Condon homers in the first. Well, Cags just homered in the third. Oh, Braden Montgomery starts an hour later because he's Central Time. He hits a homer in the first. Oh, Montgomery hits a second homer of the game in the fourth. Oh, you know what? Like Bazzana hasn't even played yet. What does he do? Oh, he leads off the game with a homer. Like this is as close to that 1998 home run race with McGuire, Sosa, Bonds, King Griffey Jr. Like this is what it's shaping up to be. Um, every single one of those guys is on pace to break that 33 home run record. Some of them will slow down. Some of them will like not be pitched to anymore. But like I think we're going to see a 35, maybe a 40 homer season from somebody. It's nuts, dude.
Who, if you got all of them together at Charles Schwab Field and we did a little home run derby, who are you taking?
Dude, that's a good question. I need to see their batting practice. Like as a former player, you're probably the same way, but y- and we get to see like Vance Honeycutt and BP, and like he's not even in this stratosphere of these 4 guys. Like athleticism he is, but as far as like a power hitter goes, I don't think
Yeah,
he's quite there. But dude, he was just backside peppering balls over right field with the most effortless swing.
yeah.
Um, so like I have not seen Condon take BP. I haven't seen Bazana. I definitely haven't seen Montgomery and Cags. I haven't
So,
seen take BP. But like
so the one
I imagine that those 4 can pretty much hit a homer at will
at every swing, like I think
every
Cags
swing.
would be the most. Cags would do kind of like what Aaron Judge did in that one home run derby, where like he was just hitting like 450 backside, like really stupid. And to your point, like I got to see, and this was kind of when Wake was in the middle of that strip. I got to see Kurtz when I called that Coastal Wake game, and I remember
Yeah.
watching his EP going, he's just trying to do too much right now. Like he's just like getting really big. And then he got out of the cage, he disappeared, and he came back out. And then he just started peppering the left center wall. And I was like, wow, that was really impressive. Like, he didn't really run any out. And someone was like, man, but he didn't hit any homers. It was like a bunch of little kids like standing behind me, like, he didn't hit any homers. And I was like, he's about to have a stupid day. And then sure enough, he hit 2 homers in that midweek game. And I was like, it's just like for some of those guys, like, you're right, maybe they're not like DP dudes. But
Mhm.
watching Jack Haggs hit baseball like 480, you're like, that's going to play pretty much at any time he picks up a bat.
Right. Let's have a fun little segment here that I think the listeners will love. You remember, I think they stopped it in like 2017 or 2018, but every year in Omaha they would have a college home run derby, right?
Yeah,
And
big time.
like my old roommate, like still good friend of mine, Kyle Lewis, got to participate. He sucked. I still give him hell for that, but he was saying like it was just such a cool experience because it was 8 of the best home run hitters in the country. Got to go out there, national stage. It was on ESPN2, and like compete for a home run derby title in Omaha. And like this would be the perfect year to bring it back, right?
Yeah.
Like you could easily get 8 guys, and these would be my 8 right now that I would love to see in a home run derby. It would be Condon, Caglione, Montgomery, Lyle Miller Green from Austin P, who hit one like 480 or 485 a couple weeks ago. Just
191.
brute strength. He's got 18 homers this year. Bazana, I would add Nick Kurtz, that's 6. James Tibbs, 7, and Dakota Jordan 8. Those would be my 8. I would love, love, love to actually sneak. I might take Lyle Miller Green might get cut, not because I mean I love him. He's got brute strength, but Blake Burke might actually be my pick for the 8th. I completely forgot about Blake Burke. But those are the guys that when you're watching a game, and it doesn't matter if you know anything about baseball, when they hit the ball, like barreled it up, perfect, perfect, MLB The Show reference there, but when they get the perfect, perfect, the ball like is significantly coming off the bat harder than anybody else.
It
It
looks and
just
feels
jumps.
different. Yeah.
It looks like an MLB hitter. So that would be my 8. And I would love just to see them battle it out, home run derby style. Like that would do numbers on
It'd be
ESPN2
so
or U or
it'd be so
whatever.
I even think about a couple guys. I'd throw Petrie in that mix. I'd throw Ethan Petrie in that mix. Like what he's doing is like still like flying right under the radar in his like sophomore
Yeah,
like slump of a year, and then like you look up and he's hitting backside homers every at bat. There'd be some fun ones. I'm with you.
it needs to happen. Like we can put up $100,000 grand prize, and like those guys would be like, "Yep, let's do it."
Yeah, wait. Why don't we do it? Why screw ESPN? Why don't we do it?
If we can raise $100,000, we can do it.
Okay, and give
Start
50,
asking
50.
investors. Dude, all we need is just one rich investor that is sitting around like, "Man, I need some entertainment. I don't wanna go hunting in Africa anymore. Like, I don't wanna go deep sea fishing. I don't wanna go hike the mountains. I don't want to go skiing." Like, I wanna have a home run derby amongst college baseball players. We just need to convince that one guy. Put up a
I'm all
big
the way.
big prize. Let's rent out Charles Schwab Field and, a few cameras, and let's get after it. Be a blast.
I'm all the way
Easy.
in.
I just solved the problem.
Investor, possibly you.
Possibly you. Um, well, I got distracted. Like I want that to happen. Let's see. Let's kind of like preview the week or the week ahead here. This weekend was great. I think I mentioned it earlier, but it it was a very important week. I call it like moving week almost. Every year around mid-April, you find teams that are either going to decide like, "Hey, we're going to figure this thing out," or we're going to lay down and just try to get through the rest of the season. And there's a few teams that were super disappointing. There's a few teams that like made big moves. The um, the midweek is important, as we always say, and there's some big midweek matchups. It looks like the weather's going to be nice pretty much everywhere, and like after that, I mean, we can kind of preview what to
Yeah,
expect moving forward, but like, man, I really don't have much for the rest of this episode. I really just want to hit on those points we've already talked about.
yeah,
So, what are some midweek matchups that have kind of like standing out to you? I know there's about 5 or 6 like really good ones. I call them RPI games because you need to win them. I know your
yep.
conference record matters, but like there's a few RPI games in the midweek where if you can win it, like it'll boost the RPI to a good number.
There's like 8 or 9 that I had highlighted to end our episode. And to your point, those midweek, like Kentucky, Louisville is a huge in-state rivalry. You want to talk about RPI? Kentucky's already lamenting themselves as like a top tier team in the country, but like Louisville's getting it going. Got to talk with
Mhm.
Coach Dave McDonald. Ben straight up told him, "I got you guys in Omaha this year." He says, "Let me see what I can do." They're freaking buzzing for the 11.7 brand. So that's a huge midweek for those guys. But how about DBU and Oklahoma State? DBU scuffling a little bit. Not to say that they're not going to be right there at the end of the. I think they're going through the hot, cold, hot theory right now. So a big
Yep,
one with
they
Oklahoma
certainly
State.
are.
You know what I mean? They're right in that hot,
Yeah.
cold, hot theory. So if they can get a win against an Oklahoma State team, who I've been really impressed with in Big 12 play. But Ben, there's a really fun one out west, and I know we didn't talk a ton about the Pac-12 this episode, but how about an Arizona team that just refuses to lose right now, sitting at tops
11 straight
top
wins. Swept La
11
Tech.
11 straight. And that La Tech series, like La Tech gave them a run for their money in a couple of those games. I think they lost 6-3 yesterday. They got Grand Canyon this weekend. And I just feel like Grand Canyon always gives those big time Power Five West Coast teams like fits in those midweeks. So I'm really excited for that game as well.
Yeah. A few more that I wanna add on, like, the Raging Cajuns, we tweeted out the graphic yesterday, but they got a 4-game lead on the Sun Belt, like, 2nd place is 4 games back of them. They're 29 and or sorry, 28 and 9, ranked 14th in the country, but they go to a tough Hammond America. Southeastern Louisiana, the record doesn't look good, but this is a team that should have beat LSU in a midweek earlier in the year. They usually have a really good crowd. These 2, like Hammond and Lafayette are not far from each other, and I expect, like, the Raging Cajun crowd to kinda travel to this game. Like, that'll be a fun one to watch on ESPN Plus. I always love watching, Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi midweek baseball because the fans usually travel and, I don't know, make it a good environment. But like William and Mary's another team that's hosting East Carolina. And William and Mary 25 and 11 overall, 8 and 4 in that CAA conference. And like East Carolina's playing some of the best baseball in the country right now. They threw 2 no-hitters last week. And I know they lost on Sunday. They kind of lost the game late to Charlotte, but still won the series. They're number 9 in the country for a reason. Like I'd watch out in Williamsburg. Williamsburg, Virginia, they got a good team in William and Mary. So that might be my like long shot. That might be like my long shot upset pick there, especially with a possible like look ahead for East Carolina because they have Old Dominion and then they have Wichita State coming to town this weekend. So that's a big series there. There was a couple other big ones that I wanted to talk
I
about.
got a
Oh,
couple, and I'll tell
UNCW is hosting Wake Forest, and UNCW already has a couple big midweek wins this year. They're in first place in the CAA. They won it last year. They won the tournament last year, and yeah, they look good. I mean, they beat. Let's see, they've beaten NC State. They've beaten Coastal Carolina, both in the midweek this year. I don't know. I just think they're a good team. So
that's a big one. There's if you listened to us last week, your hypothetical investors out there, go put your $11.70 on all these underdogs. Last week, cash cow. The other big one too that we just mentioned, that North Carolina home game winning streak. So you know what that means, it's in jeopardy. They play host
yeah,
to Coastal Carolina. That's going to be an awesome matchup. I feel like Coastal Carolina is really starting to get into the swing of Gillies last year, and are starting to play their tails off a little bit in Sun Belt, which has become an absolute hot mess. So I think they could go upset North Carolina. Texas Tech and Arkansas. I think Texas
oh,
Tech could
dude,
beat
I forgot
Arkansas.
about that.
I think Texas Tech could beat Arkansas in that midweek, Ben. I think because I think they
I think they
swing it.
play twice too. I think they play
Yeah.
Tuesday, Wednesday.
Tuesday, Wednesday guy. I think they could. I definitely think they can sneak a game. I think their offense is on brand, if not better than Arkansas. I just think Arkansas's pitching is so stupid. But their offense is starting to wake up a little bit. And then Wednesday, it's the Riz God Bowl. UC Irvine and Southern Cal again. Run it back.
Yep. The Rizgod Bowl. Yeah, he wasn't able to join us today. He said his internet was just way too bad. He's still getting it figured out over there in Italy. Um, but yeah, dude, like this week is very important, especially in those bigger conferences that are all jumbled up. Big 12, Sun Belt, ACC, SEC. Like this is the big week here because you can ride like a 5 or 6 week momentum into the postseason. Like it happens every year. We see Big 12 teams do it. We've seen them do it the last 2 years, right around this time. So, like, even if you're down on your team, like, even if you think, like, man, like, this is just like, if you're a Florida fan, like, man, we suck this year. It just takes like one good week to like get the boys rolling, uh, and I think there's a lot to look forward to. So I know Jack's about to go golfing here with the College of Charleston staff, or yeah,
The Cougs.
College of Charleston staff.
College of
Shoot
Charleston
low.
took 3. I won't. Took 2 or 3 from UNC Wilmington 2 weeks ago. They're rolling. The Cougs are feeling
Yeah,
frisky.
there's a lot of good mid-major teams rolling right now. In fact, like once we end this episode, uh, me and Rizgod are gonna get on the phone, do our mid-major top 25. We were not able to do it yesterday. I have a sick 2-year-old that was keeping me up all night, so I didn't have a chance to do it yet. But anyways, we'll be back another episode probably Wednesday,
Yeah.
either Wednesday morning, Wednesday evening, whenever. We'll have it out by Thursday. Weekend series pick 'em, the whole shebang, and yeah, I mean, this is just prime college baseball season right now. The Masters is over with. March Madness is done. MLB season's getting boring. So like, let's invest in some college baseball.
Game
Let's do
on,
it.
baby. Game on.
Awesome. All right. Hope everybody takes care, and we'll see you guys back here in a couple days.